Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of TacoBytes, your daily bite of Degen, episode number 419, coming to you live from somewhere nowhere, New York. We are talking tonight's quick bite on day 2 of Caroline Ellison. I was going to say Caroline Epstein. Caroline Ellison testifying at the Sam Bankman-Fried trial today. And we are sending out final tweet. Yeah, it has been a long day. And today. And so it has been a long day. We hope that you have had a good day. We carried a lot of notes today. We stayed out of trouble today. We got into a little trouble yesterday at the courthouse because we wore our watch into the courtroom. But we might actually end up something really cool might be happening tomorrow. So we'll talk about that. First, we're literally just going to go through my notes and what I remember in my notes, so you guys sort of know what I know before I make any articles or write anything else out of it, other than some of the big stuff that we popped out today. Court started at 9:35 is when they shuffled us in. People started forming at like 5 o'clock in the morning. And I think first person got there at like 4:30. I was number 13 by 5 o'clock. So we got to be there early to be able to make sure we are able to get in. And remember, it is open to the public. Only the first 21 people are actually allowed in the courtroom. Everyone else can go into the overflows and watch the monitors. We were, in front of the pack the last 2 days. So we were in the courtroom itself. But jury and judge entered 9:35 a.m. The defense had 2 motions, that one around Ellison and one about the directness of some of the questions, and the judge ruled that he will make a ruling at the end of the direct questioning of Caroline. I do want to just sort of like point out, like I had day 1 sort of vibes from her, and day 2 sort of got to see a lot more of the depth of sort of who she is, in my opinion, and it was really interesting. I spent a lot of time just sort of observing different people. Spent a lot of time watching Sam's parents and other people that were there in support of Sam, and just sort of interesting to watch them do certain things at different times and how they reacted. In short, what Ellison was sort of creating was, yesterday, her first few sentences, she deemed that she and Sam were guilty and committing fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud, and money laundering. So this might be the fuel of the fire against a few other people that do not like crypto, and we hope that they are busy elsewhere. But what she originally sort of talked about was the total over loans, and top over loans that got paid back first. And so with this advent, the calendar went back to May of last year with the Luna crash, and they had billions of loans out just even to Genesis. And so in June, loans were requested back. They kept open-ended chat groups going on and Telegram messages, both between Signal and Telegram. And the defense attorney called a lot of sidebars today. So really interesting to see for clear directions to be given to the jury. Watch dad really sort of staring at his son, really couldn't figure out what was going through his mind. Same thing with mom, just for the sake of parents, heart goes out to parents. it looked like I saw a lot of, on and off again frustration. Um, one of the big things that they talked to Ellison about was, her state of mind, and how she was now, and how she was then. She says, responded that she was, very clear, and seeing how things could go. Sort of spent the first half of the morning basically going through spreadsheets and defining who line item pieces belong to. Um, her biggest response, when asked about, borrowing money from FTX for Alameda's payments, she was like, yeah, I thought it was wrong. Um, one of the big players that came into play was Matt Ballensweg. Um, and so how, they moved from having meetings on Signal and Telegram and Slack to in person at their apartment in the Bahamas. Um, and one of the things that they looked at doing was to make the spreadsheet look good for investors. Was they came up with 7 different alternate versions of that, and so they decided to label and put personal funds and personal holdings on the balance sheet to make the numbers align better, make a better view. And we got to see the alternative ways to present the balance sheet. Seven different sheets with a secondary B sheet. Leverage and risk, were made to look lower based on the tokens they were holding. At that time, 2 of the big tokens that they held was $43 million worth of SOL and $904 million worth of lent SOL before there was any, major protocols that took that. One, she sort of pointed out how Sam was a unitarian. Oh my gosh, we were going to skip that word, and I apologize. But utilitarianize. And so it came across, that it came across, from Sam's point on how he was being to Ellison, and what Ellison got out of it was, that he was okay with lying and stealing because it was the utility of the aspect of the overall effect that it would have. And so these items and these ways of doing things were just utilities. And so it was the outcome that really came into play. And so for her, that didn't fit into her normal process, she said, but it was very easy for her to pick that process up, both on how to do documents and how to, take notes, personal notes, and stuff like that. And so, back on June 27th during Luna, Sam started to tweet out that they were backstopping customer assets and should be the primary thing. So Sam was, stating that customer funds were safe and were always there in liquid. Yet at the same time, there was almost $14 billion on the balance sheet. Now, 8 million of that was roughly customer funds. 3.1 was outside debt that they could manage and sell off rather quickly. Some of the big players that they were looking at, with, that had $400 million loans or that they were trying to get more money from was BlockFi, Voyager, and Genesis. On June 30th, there was and 2 times in September 30th, different asset sheets went out to different VCs showcasing these different types of loan instruments that they had or that they had bunched together to sort of hide some of those numbers. And they were also looking at selling FTX equity to Saudi Prince Al bin Salud. And so really interesting piece there. Now, here's where the big mind blower came out. There has been rumors of Chinese bribes to the Chinese officials it was clarified that yes, there was over $150 million transferred to accounts in November of 2020. I'm going to say 2022. Sounds about right. And so throughout all of this, Alameda had an almost unreachable line of credit. So not even able to learn which line of credit she had access to. And so one of the things that Sam then really pushed during all of their meetings was, um, you know, using the New York Times test. Would you want this on the front page? And so that's sort of how they had their signal into destroying messages after 7 days, and then moving those funds back or forth. Um, and so one of the things through all of these courses of business, their funds, they had $1 billion worth of funds stuck um, on the train. And so it was easy for them to sort of identify. Um, once the transaction pieces were locked in on how much money was locked up on these other exchanges, OKC and Huobi, over $1 billion, and that they could not access those funds. They could trade them, and so they even used Thai prostitutes to set up KYC accounts so that they could trade with them and do bad trades to sort of get that money moved and get those funds unlocked. Through different various points within their team of, should they bribe Chinese officials, or should they not? One person that was very vocal about not paying Chinese official was Handy, which actually caused SBF to blow his top the first time, shouting at another staff member to STFU, shut the front everything upstairs. And so during this time, almost 3 billion was transferred around, and 100 million was sent via funds to Sam Tribuco, SBF, and Caroline Ellison. And so some interesting pieces there. Ellison made good documents for anything and everything. So she had both normal ranges and high ranges for preschool costs. And then one of the big pieces that sort of came out after the Thai prostitutes was that the Chinese officials had been paid, but then almost as soon as they paid them, it came out that people were upset about it, knew about it. And so very interesting. One of the things that Sam did want to add to his resume of owners was buying Snapchat, buying Japanese government bonds, and just some interesting pieces there just to sort of tie it all together. It got to the point to where they got so large that they could not stop. SBF started to get worried, and he started to work on deals with X, Vox, and Feathers and the Block. And so we got to see a lot of different players in, and it made for a really good day. With Sam's trials on Twitter, he was really working to try to make himself a thought leader and thought promoter. And yeah, one of the things that they were working on really heavily was their license that FTX was trying to get for. And during that time, the Bloomberg article was dripped out, I guess you could say. Very interesting when things are starting to look good with their push into Walmart and other things, that a whole bunch of FUD comes out of the woodworks. They did look at renaming some of their different partnerships from Alex to something else. I apologize for a minute there. One of the things that Caroline Ellison did sort of promote was changing names. So, but that didn't go anywhere. Her options were new entity, just turn off, and do nothing. One of the things that I sort of took a little bit of note on was how she wrote these different things down. And to me, the way I read just turn off, the off was sort of written in a way that like sloppily wasn't even an idea, fathomable idea, but just something to uh, write down. And so they looked at different ways of prepping for Alameda to stop trading on FTX so it would stop borrowing. So they also then got a list of different things that she was building out of fund gatherings within FTX. And then one of the things was, backstop liquidity pools, market making for shitty things. And then she really identified true up funds. Her way of saying funds that were customers that were spent and gone. One of the things that Sam put out was, a lot of memos, sometimes where he would repeat himself multiple times. And this one was, being aligned and doing whatever you think is best for the company. That was SBF to a couple different projects. And then on November 2nd, Caroline was in Japan, and CoinDesk leaked the external balance sheet. So the one that was altered and sent to different wallets for these law firms. And so no, CoinDesk leaked the external balance sheets. Those balance sheets, showed where those token balances were outside of FTX, but the external ones that went to VCs and loan officers painted that pretty picture that everything was good. When it started to come crashing down, Sam's sort of thoughts is we can meet a ton, though it's already a lot, and was sort of commenting on how much has been going. They then wanted to look at buying FTT tokens from CZ, if you guys remember that. And excuse me, I apologize. It has been a long day. She was sort of happy when things started to get, the sheet started to get pulled. She was actually happy and relieved from the truth, she said. That is around the time where she started to cry and sniffle for the first time. And it was very interesting to sort of watch. And, they did have a small group chat, for once things started to crash down, their last Alameda all hands with corrections on how it should be run from Sam. And one of the big things that we saw towards the end was the talking about the liquidity hack that was being done on the platform with tokens that didn't have a lot of liquidity, could buy all of them up, causing a price spike, and then they were able to borrow Bitcoin against that and move that off. They called that the $8 million hack. I think it was more someone just was able to notice things. And so really interesting piece there. Really grateful to be able to push this out. And so it was a very interesting time. One of the things that the prosecution did have her talk about for just a second in name only and no other aspects of it was mobile coin. So mobile coin was talked about today. Mob, and it being exchanged where it can be and where it can't be. We will be at court tomorrow, and we will be bringing you more information during the day. We're going to do TacoBytes tomorrow, right outside of court. So be prepared. We hope that you all have a wonderful night. And as always, we aim with two of the same things. Closed mouth cannot be fed, and you cannot feed a closed mouth, meaning if no one knows you're looking for support, it's going to keep on walking. And if it keeps on walking, And no one answers the door, it's going to keep on walking. I totally butchered that tonight. I apologize. Like I said, I am exhausted. But with that, a closed mouth cannot be fed, and you cannot feed a closed mouth, meaning if no one knows you're looking for opportunity, opportunity can never come a knocking. And if opportunity does come a knocking and no one answers, it is going to keep on walking. With that, we end with greatest love to Liam and the best, worst knock knock joke on the face of the planet. But knock knock, who's there?